Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're doing well on this Thursday afternoon. We're going to do a Rashi from the fifth Aliyah, Behaalotcha, a wonderful parsha, so many interesting things happening. Sometimes in life, we have this desire to look back in time and see a snapshot before everything changes. Something I've been thinking about a lot this week in light of COVID and returning to shul. This Shabbos, like I relive that moment of the Shabbos Tetzaveh of last year, a year and a half ago, right before we shut down. Like if I could go back to that moment, what would it look like now, knowing what I know would happen? If you could go back to that moment in time before everything changes. And I think there's a moment like that in our parsha. That's the pasuk I wanted to share with you. Right after Vayhi bin Soa in the sixth Aliyah, Chazal point out that everything bad happens. We have a slew of bad things that happen, leading us all the way to Shlach and Korach and all the fighting that happens, and the 40 years in the Midbar. Everything that transpires starts right here after our in the next Aliyah, tomorrow's Aliyah, which is why we have Vahi bin Soa with upside down nuns as a separate section, a separate sefer, a separate chumash. The Gemara says, "Lahafsik ben purinus lepurinus," to divide the Torah between bad things and bad things. Unclear which bad things it's talking about beforehand, but clearly afterwards, all the bad things transpire that cause us to wander in the desert. So this moment right before Vahi bin Soa is like a golden moment. Right, the Mishkan is built. We actually have the dating in the beginning of our Aliyah today. The first travel of the Mishkan happens on the second year, which is really a year and a month after Yetzias Mitzrayim. So a year later, in the second month, which is ER, on the 20th of ER, that's when the Mishkan started going. So really, we left in Nisan of year 0. The Mishkan was built and completed by Rosh Chodesh Nisan of year 1, so about a year later. And we started traveling a month after that, which means they spent approximately a year at Har Sinai, which is what Rashi points out over here in Pasuk Yud Aleph. I wasn't planning to do this Rashi, but here, Nintes Omer, Shnei Masar Chodesh Chaser Asar Yamim Asu B'Chorev. Based on the calculation of this first pasuk, we conclude that they spent a year minus 10 days at Har Sinai. So they're finally about to travel, right? The Mishkan is now built, the encampment is set, Parshas Bamidbar, all the jobs of the Levium are set in order to carry the Mishkan, to travel with the Mishkan. We understand how we're supposed to go, when we're supposed to go. In our Parsha, we learned about the Chatzos Rosh, which we talked about yesterday, the trumpets, which are going to tell them to go. We're ready to travel. We're ready to go. And now they're about to leave, and Moshe says to his father-in-law, "Vayom Moshe lechovav ben Reuel Hamidyani, Chosein Moshe, nosim anachnu el hamakom asher amar Hashem, otoeten lachem." We're about to travel towards that place that God said He was going to give us. L'cha itanu, come with us. Ve'etavnu lach, and it'll be good for you. Ki Hashem diber tov al Yisrael, because God spoke about all the good things He's going to bring to Jewish people. Moshe begs his father-in-law in the ensuing psukim to please come with them on their journey, to come with them on their travel. They're about to go. Rashi points out two things that are interesting about this pasuk, which shows almost how naive they were in this moment, that this is the moment before everything was about to change. And both elements of what was about to change are captured here in the pasuk. This is the pre-change pasuk. Nosim anachnu el hamakom, Moshe says. We are traveling to that place. So number one, he was assuming that when he says nosim anachnu, it was like literally now, miyad, ad shlosh yamim am nichnasim la'aretz. In 3 days, we're going to enter into Eretz Yisrael. Come with us. Nosim anachnu el hamakom. We're going to that place. In 3 days, we will be there. Right now, they're about to start moving, start traveling with the Mishkan in order to enter. The 40 years didn't exist yet. Rather, they start to complain after Vahi bin Soa over here, and a chain reaction ensues that leads to Shlach, which leads to the Meraglim, which leads to us not going into Israel until 40 years, 39 years later. But at this point, it's 3 days away. Nosim anachnu. So we've captured. It's like the moment where they still believe they're going in 3 days later. Not only that, but Moshe includes himself in the nosim. He says, nosim anachnu. We, including himself, are traveling. Why was Moshe including himself with them when he knows he's not going into the land? Because the story of him hitting the rock hadn't occurred yet. And therefore, he still thought that he was going to be able to go in with the rest of Bnei Israel into the land of Israel. In two ways, this pasuk captures the moment before. The moment all of Bnei Israel thought they were going in 3 days before the 40 years ever hit. And the moment in which Moshe himself thought he was going in and wasn't going to be punished by being excluded from the land. It's almost like a beautiful, beautiful pasuk of some hope, such hope, such aspiration, such in certain well positive naivete about the beautiful future that was to come, which unfortunately came crashing down in the psukim. And well, that's probably the story of everything in life, that we have all these beautiful ideas, which often come with a lot of hurdles that we didn't expect. I think there's a certain level of beauty to going back to those moments and saying, what must it have been like before we got all complicated, before all the hurdles came? What was it like to just believe we were going in 3 days and we were all going together? It's a nice thought to be able to come back to, hopefully, and reimagine that. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day,
Thank you, Rabbi.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good